I think the state of YouTube these days has been less than ideal, especially in the guitar and music community. But before I get into all of that, let's start it off with something that really matters. Let's play some fuzz. We've got a creature pedal here. Why did I start off the video with that instead of jumping right into drama, clickbait, or nonsense? Because I'm trying to emphasize what I think is really important and what I really appreciate about music, about equipment, about everything that I care about, and maybe why I'm so irritated with the state of things these days. This isn't necessarily a reaction to a specific content creator. There has been a lot of drama around a particular like producer type creator in the music space, referring to Rick Beato. But I just want to say this is not going to be a personal attack on any particular YouTuber, because I don't think that any particular YouTuber is really at fault. And what we'll get into later in the video and start to get into today is kind of what YouTube as a whole is, and how the state of marketing, being a content creator, what that career even means these days, and how it started when I got involved and what it is now. So in the early days of YouTube, it really was kind of a wild scene. There was a lot of adult content randomly getting uploaded and removed. There was a lot of just like webcam videos. Like there wasn't even really that great of cell phones that could take great videos in the early days of YouTube. And the platform has definitely evolved a lot since. I remember there was really specific upload restrictions on the quality of the resolution. So you could only upload like 240p, 360p videos in those early days. There wasn't HD. And then it wasn't until I think the first time I used an HD camera was my sister got one of those flip cameras. If you remember those, it was like maybe it was a rechargeable battery, but it was like a device that you held. Some of you will remember what I'm talking about. But I got interested in YouTube around 2010. But before that, you know, as a guitar player at the time, I really started getting active on YouTube. It came out in 2006, probably closer to 2007. But my interest in guitar gear in general and guitar communities started before then. It was a lot of forums. There was Harmony Central. There was this one that I was really into called the Carvin Museum Forum or something like that. It was a little more condensed and it had a lot more gear-driven conversation. And I was really engaged with that, even as a relatively young person. I think there was 7string.org was one that people like Misha Mansour were into, or in the Meshuggah forums and stuff like that. That was kind of running in parallel as I was getting into music, but I wasn't aware of it till much later, you know, learning kind of the history of things that went on. So you have these early internet communities. It's very grassroots. It's a very grassroots thing, right? People in their free time are trying to upload cool content, share it with other users, and all that. There was no real talk of content creators necessarily as it was. And even in the early days of YouTube, you look at the creators that were taking off and monetizing, and honestly, it took a while before there was any monetization, period. There wasn't partnerships. People weren't getting paid for a few years. And I started uploading in about 2010 or 2011. I had been uploading to Facebook and sharing with my friends in some groups, I think, but I wasn't as openly involved trying to engage with everyone. But I really loved YouTube videos. Like, I've always loved YouTube videos. My favorite things are like old documentaries, like and band DVDs. So like when a band would do a tour, they would have sometimes like a live CD DVD set. And being able to watch those rips online was a huge deal for me, because I'm from a small town, didn't get out to the city much for these big shows. So to see some of my favorite metal bands and learn more about the equipment they were using, the sounds they were getting, you just kind of had to organically figure it out on your own. And those early days were really exciting. And it, like I said, it was very like DIY. It wasn't really as profit driven, and I think this kind of feeds into the direction that I'm going, right? So it's kind of in its infancy. Nobody really knows what this thing is, where it can go. It's just seen as kind of a side thing, an exciting thing that people put time into. And you talk to any YouTubers in the gear space or in the guitar space in those early days, they're uploading, you know, webcam videos, playing through crappy, they're playing back to a track through crappy internet, or not internet, computer speakers, and they're playing with like a practice amp alongside it, and then every once in a while you could get a clip that was a little more produced from something like Guitar World or Guitar Player. I was really obsessed with those magazines. And in fact, print media was still very super influential in the gear space when I was learning. I started playing guitar in 2002, and from 2002 to about 2005-06, it wasn't quite pre-internet times, but it was a lot less common for people to have reliable high-speed internet, and there just wasn't as much of that video content. But anytime you could find video content of somebody playing a riff or playing a song or doing a lesson, it was a huge deal. I forget which website, maybe it was Guitar World, one of those ones. I would watch these lessons and these product demos. I think at one point I had an Electro Harmonics DVD that, or maybe they uploaded it somewhere, but it was like you could see all the different big box products and all the reissues that they had put out, and it was with Sheryl Crow's Guitar Player. Great demos. I just remember stuff like that. You were just so excited for that content and that media, and for it to be accessible to you, you usually had to invest. You had to go look. You had to have a computer that could handle these things, and so it was a big deal to go seek out knowledge and information and learn and get excited about equipment. And like, if you saw something in a guitar magazine, like you saw a Crank Amps ad, if you saw a Rocktron Pedals ad, I mentioned those two because those companies effectively, I mean, they exist, but you know, it's not what they were, you know, and like you can still find those things, but you know, that wasn't that long ago. It was only 20 years ago, and a lot of these things have kind of fallen out of favor. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, you start to see really YouTube kind of hit its peak. And in terms of creators are starting to be able to monetize their work, and they're starting to be able to make a career from being a YouTuber. Like, even the phrase like being a YouTuber wasn't a thing unless you were a comedian or some kind of, you had some kind of like prolific platform outside of music. Like there was musicians, there was music videos for bands, and there was like songs and live performances, but there wasn't really as much of that content creator. I think, you know, when you look at people like Keith Merrow and Ola England, who were hugely influential in the metal scene, and that was the stuff that I was getting really into, was kind of that metalcore with like a more technical aspect to it, like very tight, precise, fast picking, and that kind of got overtaken by the gent and bedroom guitarist scene. I was really involved in that, you know, involved in a lot of online groups and discussions and making content. Like I was buying 8-string guitars. And, you know, it's basically what I do now. I mean, it was, you know, getting some lighting going, throwing up a phone, and I would do some editing in Premiere. You know, I had studio audio. Like, you know, those videos still exist. They're actually on this channel, just unlisted. There's probably about 300 videos that I have that are unlisted, just because I want to keep the things company-centric on this platform, right? But I was very involved in it. I was excited to be creating a part of something, because what YouTube is I would work my day jobs and make this money, and I was really excited to get a piece of gear. So let's say a new guitar came out, or I found a guitar that was a really good deal used, and I go to look for a video of it. There's none out there, so I upload one of this LTD model, this Schecter model, this thing, that thing, you know, and I was playing metalcore riffs or gent riffs that weren't really all that great sometimes by comparison to now, you know. And but I was having fun. I was doing what I wanted, and there was a lot of other creators in the space. One of my good friends now, there's a few of them, but people like Andrew Baina, Arnold Plays Guitar, numerous others that were enthusiasts starting to kind of create these brands. And forgive me if I let people out, because I would watch everybody that popped up on my radar, you know, all the metal stuff, all the gear stuff. Like, I was just obsessed. Kyle Bull has been creating for quite a while now and taking it very seriously. But what started to happen a little bit after, I'd say 2015, 16, is really when you started to see a shift. So that's kind of the peak of YouTube, before Adpocalypse, before things started changing. I was even getting ad revenue for a while. I had a drum set review that had gotten quite a few views and had made probably the bulk of my YouTube income. It was the Ludwig Breakbeats set by Questlove, Tonight Show with, what is it, Jimmy Fallon? Is that right? It was really big at the time. Questlove's roots were huge, and he had released this like affordable compact drum set. I saw one at my local Guitar Center. While most places only had them on pre-order, got an HD video made with the help of some friends, uploaded it. It was a hit, right? Then things started to change because it goes from being a side thing to, hey, this is like, there's money involved in this if you take it serious. And there wasn't as much competition. And even as soon as back then, right? Like there wasn't the same competition that there is now. Like camera and editing and recording gear was a lot more accessible. You were able to get that quality without, you know, having to have a full-blown studio and red cameras and stuff like that. Now that's probably more common for people to use. But at the time, you know, it was like, whatever they call it, like DSLRs had gotten more and more affordable, people learning about lenses, lighting. And that's kind of when I started phasing out, because it was gonna take a lot more than what I wanted to put into it. But what started to shift in the general guitar community is it became clear that there was a career to be made, but it was a grind. And so where it was these hobbyist enthusiast people that were doing it for the fun of it, now they want to make that transition. And a lot of other fields, let alone music, is just a small piece of obviously what's on YouTube, but it's the part I care about the most because that's what I'm into. And I probably watch on average 8 to 10 hours of YouTube a day, because I have my headsets in and I'm usually listening to something all throughout the day. Like when I wake up, when I'm working, when I'm out walking around, when I'm in bed at night trying to wind down, it's content. Like I'm not as big on some of the other streamers. Like I watch shows and series occasionally, but for me, my primary education and entertainment is YouTube. And I've noticed this trend, and this is the whole point of making this video. And I hope that like the history lesson, and you kind of see the arc of where I'm going. So you see this thing is kind of fun, it's deciding what it is. It's kind of like the formation of any company, right? It's grassroots, very exciting, everyone's getting on board. It's starting to get a kind of peak, and then it starts to shift and maybe plateau, and there's obviously still more and more content being made, it's more and more mainstream, but where at one point YouTube was kind of the rowdy upstart DIY community driven thing, now it is the establishment. Like now it is that form of media is rivaling and eclipsing traditional media outlets in so many ways, right? You have things like the Joe Rogan podcast that are now have a wider reach than major news networks. You have YouTube channels like Mr. Beast has a couple 100 million subs. I know he's battling with T-Series, whatever, like 200 million subs. Like that's, and budgets that rival, you know, major productions by major networks. So you see this change from it being more about the people, more community driven, more about just the love of the thing, to now it's a business. And there's a lot of creators that had to make that jump, and it's a very difficult jump. It's just like me, I made that jump quickly with being a hobbyist with pedals to creating a business around it very quickly. And that came with a lot of complications. That was not a smooth transition, right? But once you're kind of in the flow of things, and I can see it in a lot of these YouTubers, not all the ones that I mentioned. Obviously, I'm really friendly with a lot of YouTubers, and I love what gear and guitar YouTubers do. But I've noticed this trend, and this is what has been bothering me lately, and especially during summers when viewership's a little lower, maybe people are struggling to get as much content out, is that there's been this market shift from like, hey, check out this video, hey, do this. Sometimes there'd be reactions like, oh, this company came out with this, let's look at these new models. And that all still exists. I'm not denying it, that doesn't still exist. What I've noticed is there's this inherent bias now in a lot of content where it's low quality reaction content, which has existed for a long time. There's a lot of channels that have been farming, you know, whatever the popular meme content or whatever, reacting to TikToks. Before that, it was reacting to Instagrams, Reels, or whatever it was. And so there's a lot of reaction content that's low grade, meaning not offering a lot of editorial input like, oh, that's so crazy, play a few more seconds. Oh, I can't believe it. A couple more seconds. Oh man. And I get it. Like, I like some of that content, but when everybody's just doing a reaction and not actually creating something worth watching, the kind of content that people are driven to engage in, like the original content to be created, has to be shocking, like over the top, like really dumb, and a lot of times really negative. So really negative interactions. So it's like, for example, some of the kinds of content that I see a lot of are like body cam videos, car crashes, public freakouts. And don't get me wrong, like the human condition is very interesting, and at the extreme ends of it, it elicits an extreme reaction. So getting to kind of the head of everything is the current state of YouTube is that I pop open my app and there's just so much negativity, whether it's in the guitar space, where it's in the comedy space, where there's like, it just sucks the soul out of you now, because in order to react, in order to draw in an audience, there's like this clickbait thing. Like, clickbait has been around forever, right? It's like you almost are like compelled to click on this video because the thumbnail is like, oh man, I gotta see that, right? And a lot of people, you know, it's the game. You gotta play the game. If it didn't work, then people wouldn't be doing it, right? But like I was scrolling and I saw one, the worst guitar I've ever reviewed, the worst amp I've ever reviewed, the cheapest, worst. It's like there's this narrative like everything is terrible, but the only things we're talking about are the tolerable things. And I get it. You know, the extreme ends of the spectrum is what's going to draw the most attention. And it always will be that way, I suppose. But what I'm saying is that it bumps me out, man. You know, I love what I do. I love gear. I love making music. I love listening to music. I like watching live shows. I like creating, you know, songs occasionally. I gave it a solid whack at trying to be a solo artist. But if all you do is fill your day with negativity, it just kind of crushes the soul out of you and it burns you out. And I've definitely felt some of that burnout lately. You know, wanting to create something cool in this space and just feeling like cutting through all the noise. Like, I love creating noise and feedback and all these things, right? But cutting through the noise of a society and of this algorithm. Because I don't even think it's necessarily the creators that are at fault here. I think it's more so just the algorithm and us as a society gravitating towards the more extreme content, hate watching, you know, rage baiting. Like, these are all these terms that we throw around that are, you know, those are extreme emotions, right? Like those are definitely things. And I don't see that changing. And I think maybe that's part of why TikTok has shifted for the younger generation, as far as I can tell. Like, obviously YouTube's still the biggest platform for longer form content. It's what I prefer. I prefer longer form content. I love quick, short, snappy stuff. It's fun. But, you know, for me, I'm looking for, you know, 20 to 40 minute videos. That was kind of what prompted me to throw up the camera and just start talking again, because this is the kind of content I'm looking for. I want people to give a honest look into the world, or, you know, be exploring topics and exploring things in a way that I can relate to. And I don't know, I don't necessarily have the solution, but I think what will happen organically is that people will gravitate away from creators that are gaming the algorithm as hard as they are. Because in the short term, yeah, you're getting more views, you're getting more clicks, you're making more money. But in the longer term, you know, those people aren't as sticky. Those cult followings aren't as present. And it's something that I try to be cognizant of and adjust even in my own content creation, and especially in how I create products. You know, I want products that stick and have lasting power. You know, I definitely have some stuff like the Bonfire, the Shroot. Those things were wildly successful for a time. But as people move on, you know, those things are less and less on their radar and less interesting to them. And I get it. And it's hard for me. Like, at one point, the only pedal I was making for like 2 months straight was a Shroot 2 pedal. And it was great. You know, it was making good money. It had perfect margins built in. People were loving the sound, and it was good. You know, I run this much ads, I can make this much money, and then it tapers off, and then you got to readjust and recenter. But I don't know. I see this in the guitar community, and I also see a lot of, like, you know, we have an aging population of rock and metal players, certainly. Like, yes, is there a new generation rising up? 100%. I'm so here for it. People get excited. Like, I see younger people. I was at the music shop. People are excited about grunge. They're excited about shoegaze. They're excited about, like, creating kind of weird hybrid blends of, like, hip-hop and 90s music, and people getting into old thrash metal, death metal constantly. Like, I'm glad that these genres and guitar-driven music will continue to evolve and exist. That's the exciting part to me. And I think as we welcome more and more people into our world, there's a lot more people picking up guitars during quarantine than any other time period ever. A lot of players from all over the world and all kinds of genres are getting excited about playing guitar. So I think our duty as a community is to welcome these people in and bring, you know, kind of a fresh take and be providing valuable content, not just going for that quick hit, right? But I'm just a guy. I build pedals in a garage. I make videos on my phone, and I can't necessarily change the world tomorrow. But I can keep doing what I'm doing, trying to spread the word and get people stoked about what they do, making music and doing all that they do. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end it for now. Hopefully that resonated with somebody. I feel like it did. I felt like anytime I feel compelled to say something and I can put some words together, then I probably should do it. And that's what it seemed like today was. I shot a video earlier, shooting this one now, probably drop it right away. Check out fuzzment.com, see my life's work, got coupon codes, trying to crank out some pedals all summer. And yeah, thanks for being cool fans. Drop a comment, tell me what you think about what I talked about, and yeah, we'll see you soon.